our software is used in all these places. Again, we have it and you don't. It delivers this ROI. In order for you to get it, you have to take money from your account and put it in our account.
Welcome to Future Squared, the podcast all about innovation, entrepreneurship, and self-improvement. My name is Steve Glaveski, and each week I'll bring you conversations with thought leaders from not only the entrepreneurial domain, but also from the world of technology, psychology, philosophy, economics, politics, biology, management and leadership, health and fitness, and more to help you think in a multidisciplinary way, avoid relying too heavily on the first piece of information encountered, and ultimately to make better informed decisions so that you can more readily become the person that you want to become. Each and every Friday, I'll also bring you Fast Fix Friday, some short, high-impact, and easily digestible insights to have you finishing your week on a high. Future Squared is brought to you by Collective Campus, an innovation accelerator that works with organizations to unlock their latent potential to create more impact for humanity and lead more fulfilling lives. If your organization needs help coming up with ideas, testing and turning those ideas into reality, creating a culture of innovation, or partnering with startups, visit www.collectivecampus.io. Without further ado, let's kick into today's episode. Welcome back to Future Squared for episode number 274 with Oren Klaff. Oren is Director of Capital Markets at investment bank Intersection Capital, where he manages its capital raising platform. From 2003 to 2008, as he applied his pioneering approaches to raising capital and incorporating neuroscience into the capital markets programs, Oren raised over $2 billion in capital from high net worth individuals and financial institutions for entrepreneurs. His best-selling book, Pitch Anything, an innovative method for presenting, persuading, and winning the deal, has been considered by many to be the sales Bible. And it's a book I read when first embarking on my entrepreneurial journey and return to often. And it is amongst the books I have gifted and recommended most to other entrepreneurs and sales executives. We discussed 1. How to place yourself into a position of power when selling, regardless of the social context. 2. How to sell to large organizations who insist on dragging out things and involving various people and committees in the decision-making process. 3. How to get past people's innate fear of uncertainty and the unfamiliar when selling new technologies and ways of doing things. I was really looking forward to this conversation as a longtime fan of Oren's book and might come across as a bit of a fanboy. So apologies for that. A heads up though, our connection dropped in and out throughout the conversation. However, the value bombs that Oren dropped throughout the chat are well worth listening in through to the end. Expect to not only learn lots about the science of persuasion, but also hear some delightful, profanity-laden stories and learn about Oren's extensive motorcycle collection. With that, I bring you the one and only Oren Klaff. Welcome to the show, Oren.
Thank you, Steve. I think normally I don't know if the welcome is a true welcome until like 10 or 15 minutes from the start. We'll see. But all the Australians are generally very forthright and transparent. But when I do these interviews, from New York, a welcome, we don't know what that really means. Sometimes it's not a welcome.
Well, this is true. I see what you're saying there, and to be fair, to be completely honest, I do say welcome to the show to all of my guests. And in some cases, it ends up being a terrible interview, and I'm like, man, I should never have interviewed that guy. But I'm sure that's not going to happen today, Oren.
No, it's not. Yeah, welcome, and then let me burn your name to the ground in the next 60 minutes. Anyway, I like you. You're a good guy. You're going to take care of business.
We are going to take care of business today. And you're joining me all the way from sunny Beverly Hills 90210?
I am just south of there on the beach in Carlsbad, California, from a secure undisclosed studio location that we've built. That we have a nice studio where we stocked it with cars and motorcycles and video equipment and cameras and audio equipment and good-looking people, and we're just a few feet from the beach. So we're motivated to get this thing done.
What kind of bikes, Oren? Any bikes you actually take out for a ride yourself?
Yeah, of course. I've owned 1,000 motorcycles in the last 10 years, but I'm down to just 20 or 30. Got a couple Ducatis, a Ducati Mike Halewood. Yeah, 20 or 30. And the goal, you should have more motorcycles than cars. The problem is when you got 15 cars and 20 motorcycles, it's no problem. It's just your wife is going, what is going on here? But it's like when they marry a band member, right? They can't complain. Oh, what? You got another tattoo and you were out late and you've been on the road for a week. Like that's the deal you made.
What you signed
so yeah, I have it's what you signed up to. So she's great, and we do have quite a lot of them. Yeah. So I have a bunch of Ducatis, a Mike Halewood, MH900E, a very cool bike, a Honda RC51, a Cagiva Mito, a 1981 Honda CB900F, a Honda VFR 400 RR, Ducati 748 RR. An Aprilia RS250. That's a piece of unobtainium. I built the bike myself, sort of, with a mechanic. And so, oh my gosh, Ducati Multistrada, Ducati Hyper Motard. Yeah, I love riding.
Yeah.
Love riding.
So you love your sports bikes?
Love the sports bikes. Cars are good too. What about you? Are you an enthusiast?
To a certain degree. I definitely don't have 30 bikes, and I only got into riding a couple of years ago. So my bike of choice at the moment is just a Hyosung 650 GV Cruiser, as I slowly make my way up to a Harley Davidson of some persuasion. But I do have a Tesla Model S in the garage as well, which I enjoy taking out for a ride every now and again. So either I look like, I'm riding around in a Tesla, or people think I'm a bikie. So I don't know. And sometimes I'll just head out on a skateboard down the beach. So people can't put a figure on me. It's all good.
Good for you. I'm going to introduce you to a site that is going to ruin your life. Grab a pen and write this down. It's called eBay. eBay. You head over to eBay, and away you go. You'll be owning 7 cars and 15 motorcycles shortly.
I look forward to it. So, Oren, thanks so much for giving up time to appear on the show. Many of our listeners will be familiar with who you are, and some may not. I mean, I read your book, Pitch Anything, years ago. It's definitely my top 5 most gifted books and most recommended books to fellow entrepreneurs, to sales professionals. And even today, it's still, you search for sales on Amazon, it's at the top of the chart. So congratulations on its enduring success.
Yeah, great. I got another book coming out, so hopefully you'll like that one too.
Yeah, so you do have another book coming out called The User's Guide to Power, which looks at the aspects of power and influence that aren't covered by psychologists or sales professionals. I mean, what can you tell us about that book?
Well, here's what I can tell you. The publisher just called me last week and we changed the name. And so if you write a book, one thing you'll know, if you're a real book, you don't actually own it. The publisher does. They just pay you, right?
Yeah.
So people go, oh, it's my book. It's not really your book, Tim Ferriss, right? It's the publisher's book. And they decide what they want to call it and what they want to do with it. So the book is now called Persuade Anyone. So you got Pitch Anything and Persuade Anyone.
Well, I think in this case, Oren, the publisher got it right.
They did. They said what? Right. So Persuade Anyone is coming, but we can talk about some of that stuff.
Yes, fantastic. So, I mean, obviously Pitch Anything has been out for a number of years now. So why the inspiration to write Persuade Anyone? I mean, what did you think Pitch Anything was lacking that Persuade Anyone will help people with?
So I think that Pitch Anything, that's a great question. So Pitch Anything opens your mind to a world of possibility of what can be done in tough sales, negotiation, capital raising, pitch situations. Mm-hmm. Persuade Anyone gets more into the tactics of, now that you know what can be done, more how to do it.
Yeah. Well, that makes perfect sense. And I think it sounds like a perfect accomplice to pitch anything. And one of the notions that comes out in your forthcoming book, Persuade Anyone, is this notion of the squirrel. I don't know how Americans say it. I'm just going to say squirrel theory. What is that exactly?
Yeah, no. So think about it. Anybody working on a startup, on an exciting new product and something new, what they try and do is they try and highlight the innovation, the newness, the excitement about it, the never before done way about it. Why do we talk about new, novel, exciting, new technology, new business model, new kind of everything, right? Because it attracts people's attention. We're attracted to things that are new and novel and flashy, right? And so people run over to look at the thing that's new and exciting. But then it is also the case that things that are very new, right, and untested repel us in a way. So we run back. So if you've seen a squirrel, run towards a bag of chips, right? Because it smells good, it's attracted to it, it's novel, and it's got some kind of new, high caloric intensity. He's very excited about it, sticks his nose in it, and the bag makes some noise. And he runs back 10 feet the other way. And he starts to think about, but it smelled so good, right? And then he runs back toward the bag, and it scares him again. He runs back and forth. And so this is what happens when you highlight the excitement, the newness, the novelty. You attract people, but it also repels them because people are scared of things that are new. And they ultimately like things that are pretty plain vanilla. That's what they buy, right? So we found, certainly in tech, when you're raising money, to say we have a new product, a new technology, it's on a new platform, we have a new kind of org chart, we are using a new kind of business model, and everything's new. That's not what investors want. They actually want a plain vanilla deal with some innovation in certain areas, usually in the product. Our job as investment bankers is we calm everybody down. No, the business model isn't new. The org chart isn't new. The way we're going to market isn't new. The advertising isn't new. We are doing the exact same deal as was done 20 times last year. It's a plain vanilla deal. That's what we tell investors. The only thing that's different is it's growing a little faster and the technology is in this area. Plain vanilla. So squirrel theory says that people are attracted to talking about their things, new, novel, exciting, right? And that attracts people over, but it also repels people. So we calm down the newness and position this as plain vanilla. The same kind of thing that was done 100 times. It's totally reliable, except these one or two specific areas are completely new, exciting, and improved.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. And I know a lot of the stuff you talked about in Pitch Anything was grounded in neuroscience, and the stuff you said there around people avoiding the unfamiliar, that traces itself back to things like people's amygdala lighting up and biological evolution, because we tend to avoid that which is unfamiliar. We're scared of the unknown, and therefore we'll make the same old decision. And we see this show up in various domains today, even in the big corporate world, where executives like to talk about innovation and technology and whatnot, but more often than not, they find themselves defaulting to what they've always done before. So I guess if you're a startup, say, working on some new application on, say, it could be a blockchain-based application for argument's sake, and you're pitching to investors who traditionally don't invest in that field, I mean, what do you do? Do you then talk about the merits of how it's applied?
Let's give you the pitch.
By the way, it's on blockchain, you know?
Yeah, this looks like every other fintech deal that's been done over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
It looks like Dropbox. It looks like Cabbage. It looks like whatever, right? We're at the same stage of growth. We're growing at the same pace. We're making the same amount of revenue per employee. We're based, in Palo Alto. We're right. We're at the same stage. Our cost to acquire customer metrics are, basically at industry norms. Our churn rate is a little bit below industry, right? However, let me tell you about our blockchain technology. So everything is standard, except for the one thing that really matters is the breakthrough technology. That's how you pitch it. That's all we do as a bank, right? We map somebody's deal to the last 15 deals that were done. We make it look exactly the same and focus on the innovation in the technology. That's how you do it.
That makes perfect sense. So basically leading with the familiar, speaking the same language, the language that people are familiar with, that they've heard before 1,000 times, the metrics that they normally use to make decisions. And then, by the way, we're on blockchain.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, there is a wealth of, are there any other aspects of the book that we can talk about?
Yes. So I think one thing that's really interesting to me that I've found, right, is, and I've studied 25,000 executives over time that have come through Pitch Anything. And here's what I've learned in the sales area, right? And whether you're raising money or you're in business development or you're looking for a partner or you're actually selling or you're selling online or you're selling in person, most of the sales that's training that's done today, or all of it, if you think about it, whether, the trial close, creating scarcity, tie downs, getting agreements and takeaways, all these kinds of things, that are in the classic sales book, spin selling, asking questions. That sales today is based on the cognitive biases, right? That the way you sell maps or mimics or copies exactly people's flaws in their thinking processes that are based in survival instinct, right?
Yeah.
So scarcity in today's world, right? In today's economy, there isn't scarcity. All right, there's surplus. Our reaction to scarcity was built 70,000 years ago. There was nothing extra. So if somebody came to you, right, and says, "Hey, I'm taking the blueberries away. I'm taking the axe, and there's going to be no more axes," that triggered genetically a fear response. Okay. Today, if somebody said, and I got to do this, we were buying a truck, right? A black 2-wheel drive Ford F-150. It is the most sold truck in the history of humankind, right? And the guy goes, I don't can get black with black seats. Right? And immediately it triggered fear inside of me, right? That is a survival instinct, not built for today's world. That is a sales tactic that preys on my survival instincts, right? And all my sales are built to take advantage of cognitive kludges or flaws or biases, right? This is why, very typical, you buy something, you get it home, you go, oh man, why did I do that, right? And why there's so many returns. So when you sell in a way that doesn't take advantage of flaws in people's thinking, then you can create a relationship. Then you can create a customer for life. Then people come back. Then people want to work with you. Then people are happy with the purchase. Then people want to refer your name on. And that's what I think would be very helpful for people is not, am I taking advantage of someone, but am I taking advantage of a cognitive bias or a survival instinct in order to sell? And if I am, let me not do that, because that's going to trigger remorse, buyer's remorse, or just frustration somewhere down the line. Sure, if you're selling a car, that's how you do it, because somebody buys a car once every 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, right? And that's why they do those kinds of sales. But if you're getting an investor, you're getting a partner, you're hiring an employee, you're getting a customer that's going to be a customer for life, you want repeat referrals, then taking advantage of somebody can be a lot more negative in the long term.
Yeah, I know you've tweeted about this recently around the whole notion that there's a hell of a lot of sales books out there that talk about being aggressive, which you've equated to hostage negotiations, whereas you've said that it's not good to be greedy in the long term. It can backfire. Ultimately, it's about building empathy with your prospects and doing a deal that is actually going to create that value to not only deliver a sustainable long-term affiliation with that particular client, but also they're going to refer other clients to you in the long term if you truly take care of them.
So totally. And before you think that if you show up in our office, we're wearing love beads and Birkenstocks and have tie-dye shirts, we will take all your fucking money, right? We will take your money. We will sell you, but we'll do it correctly. Mm-hmm. Right. And so people say, Oren, what's your best close? Tell me, hey, you're the sales guy. Tell me your best close. What's close? And I go, I don't have a close. My close is hey, we're running out of time for today. What should we do? Unless somebody goes, Oren, right, well, let us draft a contract, send it over to you. We're so excited about working with you, right? then that's the close. So when the sale is built correctly, then people go, how do we work? How do we do this? Let's go, right? Send over the agreement. When can we get started? How can we get started faster? I'm excited about this. And unless I hear that, we sell big things that are $5, $10, $15 million, but unless somebody's excited about working with me, I don't even want the deal because it's likely to fall apart. So there shouldn't be a close. The close should be, looks like we're out of time. Let's figure out what are we all going to do together.
Yeah. So ultimately, when you say it looks like we're out of time, what are we going to do about it? Are you effectively putting yourself forward there as a bit of a prize or creating urgency? I mean, are we delving into the realms of frame control now?
Yeah, so we are, because what's likely here, I'll give it, for those of you guys who, and I haven't done this before, and I'll give it for people go, okay, Oren, this sounds great, but how do I apply it? So at the end, you go, hey guys, what do you think we should do? Are our circles overlapping? Are we going forward? We're going backwards? We're going sideways? What are we doing here? Right? Decent close. And they go, well, send us the information. We take a look at it. We want to go to committee. I got to talk to my partner. If we decide to go forward, we'll ask you for an RFP. Right? So that's a typical response, right?
Yeah.
So then I would just go, well, we're not going to do that. Right? And they go, well, what do you mean? Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Listen, we've done 2 phone calls, right? 45 minutes, an hour long. We've had 3 or 4 people from your side. We've had 3 people from my side. Then we did this meeting today. I don't know, we're 45 minutes, an hour. Maybe we're running over an hour. We have 15 man hours talking about this as 2 organizations. Okay. I don't know what you guys charge, but we like to think of our man hours as $1,000 fully loaded. Mm-hmm. So we've got $15,000. I assume, you guys think in the same way. You have 15. So collectively we spent $40,000 together thinking about this. And if you're going to say we have invested $40,000 and we have no idea what to do, then this doesn't make sense to me in any way, right? Because we have a pretty clear idea. We understand what you guys do. We understand how to help, how long it's going to take, where our margin is, where we're willing to relax. We have a clear understanding of how to deliver value to you guys on what timeline, exactly what ROI you're going to get, and how to set expectations. Right? 100%. We're completely clear on that. If you guys are like, I don't know, we just don't understand that much after we've collectively invested $40,000, it's not right for us to invest in. Why don't we do this? Unless you say to me, we legitimately have spent 15 internal hours on this and we have no idea what to do. Right? And then let's just all go away. We'll put each other's name in the Rolodex and maybe sometime in the future we'll come back together. Who knows? Right? Alternatively, if you could just say, hey, Oren, yeah, we've spent $15 hours on this, with our team. We got a pretty good idea. We're just playing it coy, right? Here's where we are. If you can tell me that, I'm willing to go forward. If you can't say that, it doesn't feel comfortable to me.
Yeah.
And that will wash somebody out of the bushes. Nobody is going to, they will either rise up and go, this is a real guy, knows what he's talking about. Here's where we are on this deal. Or they'll say, we want to see the information. And then you go, we're out. These aren't real partners.
Mm. So I think that serves a couple of purposes, Oren. I mean, firstly, getting the deal done, but also if the prospect is just going to waste your time, ensuring that you get your time back. Because I feel like a lot of, particularly startups, I mean, you mentioned fintech startups earlier, who are trying to sell to large organizations, large banks, financial services organizations, they get put through the ringer. Oftentimes it's because the prospect has no interest in working with them, but oftentimes they'll take the meeting and a startup will meet with the same organization 5, 10, 15 times and they'll say, well, we need sign off from party A, B, C, D, E. We've got all these internal processes. It's all slowing us down. But if you take this approach earlier on that journey, I guess it helps you not only move closer to a deal, but determine whether or not it's actually worth trying to push a deal. Because if they still push back after that, well, then you just free yourself up to focus on prospects who are actually going to do the work with you.
Yeah, let me fix that situation really quickly, right? Which is to say, hey guys, on the front page of your website, it says you're the startup friendly investor. You know how to work with startups. You got that entrepreneurial mindset,
yep,
right? And you deeply understand what a startup is, and startups say great things about you. I like that. That's what attracted me about you guys. The front page of the website is delightful, right? But we're still waiting to meet that company. When are those guys coming out? Because what I'm seeing is guys who have no idea how a startup operates. So do you think we want to spend 180 days raising $4 million, right? Because that's the way you're acting. So on one hand, you're saying things. On the other hand, you're doing things that are disconnected from your marketing and who you say you are. So why don't we try and understand, right, what's really going on here? Because investors or companies that want to work with fintech startups in reality don't take 90 days, 100 days to make a decision. Don't take 3 weeks to return an email. Don't say, hey, our managing director, is away for 2 weeks. We can't do any work on this until he gets back. That's not reality for a fintech startup. So why don't you tell me, we understand the needs of a fintech financing and we're in that game, or we just say we are, but we don't actually do that. And I'm okay with either of those. Won't hurt my feelings, right? But what is important, because we offer transparency. We've showed you our business model. We've showed you our team. We've showed you our competition. We've showed you everything about ourselves. Like, we have been transparent, open with our backgrounds, right? What we're asking for are partners with that same level of commitment to really doing this. Where are you guys really? What should we expect?
Yeah. So what have you actually done in that situation? I mean, you've kind of challenged their identity in a way by saying, hey, your website says A, B, C, D, but your behavior is more X, Y, Z.
So it's the moral authority frame, right? Which is when you have the moral center and you frame somebody up as outside the center, they will fight like hell to get back to the same moral parity as you. So a very simple version of is, you guys asked us to submit the application on the website, which we don't love doing, but we did it. You asked for a 5-pager. We actually have a 40-page deck. We condensed it to 5 pages. You guys asked us to wait 2 weeks for a turnaround, which we did, although we think, faster would be better. You asked us to come to a meeting at 10 o'clock on a Thursday. We got here at 9:30. We prepared the presentation. We, without an NDA, we showed you, our key accounts and our contracts, right? And we have played to your requests and and with fairness and with transparency and honesty and integrity. We don't know how to do more. In contrast, right? You guys have absorbed all this information and provided us almost nothing. And so we'd like you to, right? We think that's unusual. We think it's unusual. And I think there's a brief period now where we do know each other, where some trust can be built up. You can recover some trust with us because we're here now today. But that's definitely what we're looking for, is to really understand the character of the people we're working with.
Beautiful, beautiful. And oftentimes when a startup is in a meeting, delivering a presentation, they may come up against someone who is, say, an analyst, and using the analyst frame, whereby there will be, in the case of a blockchain-based startup, asking questions around that particular startup's infrastructure, the security, the privacy implications of their technology, and they'll make it really difficult for that startup while they're trying to tell us, while the startup's trying to pitch around why this is such a good deal, here's our projected ROI, and so on. The analyst just keeps pushing those buttons and makes it difficult. So what does one do in that type of situation, Oren?
So there's a couple things, and this is in the new book as well. When you're doing a deal, it has got to be structured that analysts talk to analysts, financial guys talk to financial guys, marketing guys talk to marketing guys, and the CEO talks to the the managing director or the the senior people. Yep. If you have an analyst driving reactiveness or response from the CFO or the CEO or the senior team, right? And I'm not saying this doesn't happen. It's set up poorly. Now, sometimes it's unavoidable, but this isn't just for me, right? One of the most name brand venture capitalists at the center of Silicon Valley, who has Tim Cook on speed dial on his phone, who I got to invest in a deal, and I spent several deals, spent quite a long time with, taught me this. If you're doing a deal, and the analysts aren't talking to the analysts, marketing people aren't talking to marketing, linear, right, across the line. The financial people talk to financial people, and the CEOs talking to the senior finance people. If it's not set up that way, your deal is set up to not work. Now, I understand in the real world, sometimes, you do have an analyst, you're in a meeting, they're asking questions, right? And you've got to deal with that, right? And I think you can say, look, these are great questions, right? We're here for 35 more minutes today. Mm-hmm. The answers to one of these questions, and you've asked 8, and they're all good questions, but the answer to one of these questions is 15, 20 minutes long, right? And so my sense is we're drilling down these really important wormholes when we haven't even decided, do we like each other? Do you guys understand our segment, right? Is our growth rate, is our competitive segment, is our segment interesting to you? Do you have capital to invest, and are we on each other's timelines? So I think those are the major issues. And does the blockchain, use karma, or is this underlying model, based on the Bitcoin or on whatever? Those are excellent questions that we need to resolve along the way in diligence. But let's figure out if we're in the right sector, if you guys have capital overhang, if you're interested in the business, if we like each other, if we're at the right stage, if our marketing assumptions, match your needs. But happy to answer a couple analytical questions, but let's figure out if we're right for each other, right? Before we do the deep dive.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And again, you've kind of pushed them back into a corner by taking a particular frame and controlling that frame. But I guess one thing that often comes up in a lot of sales literature, Oren, and blogs and whatnot is, hey, you've got to spend the first few minutes building rapport, talking about, their kids and their holiday house and what they did on the weekend and all that sort of stuff. But is that really the best way to assert yourself and take a dominant frame?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And so let me see. Let me just finish up on this last subject, something tactical, yep. Right? And then we'll go into rapport. But in this last subject, I think what most startups or young companies or salespeople or entrepreneurs don't recognize is because somebody you want something from, a sales contract or money or an investment, because they ask a question, mm-hmm. does not require you to answer it. You don't have to chase conversation threads just because they've been asked. Right? There isn't some rule of law that requires, because somebody says, well, what's your market size, right? And it's okay to roll your eyes and go, listen, right? We think the market is 4 billion. Other people think it's 8 billion, might be 3 billion. I've heard people say it's 6 billion. And if we're here arguing about market size, we're in the wrong place, because it's somewhere between 5 and 30 billion, right? And that's more than enough for 15 companies like us. So it's okay to say that. You don't have to go into a big market size breakdown when you can't win that argument. So if somebody asks you a question and that leads to an argument you cannot win, you don't have to chase that conversation thread.
Yeah. At the same time, is it worthwhile saying, well, we haven't got the information here, or we've got that information, we can share that after the meeting so that you can drive the meeting and not spend half of it answering these questions?
I'll give you even a better response to that. This is what I tell people is, listen, the place people go for market size on this industry is Gartner. When Gartner wants to figure out what the market size is, they come ask us and the 7 other companies in my peer group. Mm-hmm. Okay? The market size, we see the market size direct, right? Because we interact with the clients, we see the traffic, we see the response to advertising, we know we're friends with the other companies, we know what this market is doing, right? And the analytics come from us. So when we say there's nobody knows more about it than us. So when we say it's $6 billion, that's roughly what it is. Could we be off by $1 billion? Sure. Right? Does it matter? No. Mm-hmm. So we position ourselves at the origination of the data, not right. I hate it when startups quote other people in their decks or in their pitches, right? Who knows more about this than you? Nobody. You see the data. You're placing the advertising. You see the Facebook traffic, right? You see the conversion. You see the churn. Nobody knows more about this. You should not be quoting fucking Abraham Lincoln, right? Or Jamie Dimon. What does Jamie Dimon know about, blockchain in the gamification of in esports weapons trading.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You guys never played Halo. Why are we quoting him in our fucking deck? Sorry, I'm getting wound up.
Oh, good.
Everybody calm down.
Calm down.
Everybody, there's nothing to see here.
6 seconds in, 6 seconds out.
Nothing to see. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let me see. Rapport.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think, we sort of define what rapport is, right? So what's your definition of it?
My definition of rapport is building a connection with someone based on having some things in common, and therefore not seeing the other person as just a professional, but also a person. And once you see that prospect, once you see that prospect as a person, then you're far more likely to kind of lower some of your barriers and have a more open conversation, and therefore be more likely to do a deal with them. Sure.
So I think social credibility is important. And I think people confuse rapport with social credibility, right? So rapport done correctly is, hey, I noticed that you guys did a deal with the bioinformatics division at Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
I know Ramit there, who was in business development for a couple of years. He and I were at Stanford together. Did you guys get a chance to work with him? Oh, no, we didn't, but we heard about him. Yeah, right? That's social context, and that's important, right? Oh, where did you guys go on vacation over the holiday? Right? Oh, Florida. Oh, were you fishing? I love fishing. No, we were board sailing. Oh, I love board sailing. Well, don't you live in Arizona? Yeah, but I looked at some board sailing videos online, and we want to do it someday. Oh, I see you went to Northwestern University. Yeah, my sister went to Northwestern University, 10 years ago, maybe. Right. So
yeah, that
is what most people do: sports, politics, weather. If somebody in my organization says, "Hey, so what's the weather out there?" They're fired. Like, they're not really fired, but they're on the way to being fired, right? Because that fucking sucks. The reason the young guys especially seek what they call rapport through weather, sports. What did you do over the vacation? Oh, you played racquetball. I love racquetball. Florida's great this time of year. Or Jewish geography. Or I went to Florida State University. So the reason they do that is they're seeking validation. They're looking for a safe space because they want to be liked, and they're afraid to start the presentation until they've generated some sort of collaborative back and forth.
Yep.
But so I think this is my key takeaway. Rapport is not something you create at the beginning of the presentation. It's something you've earned at the end of it.
It's a very interesting take, and very contrarian compared to a lot of the sales stuff that's out there.
Let me tell you what to replace rapport with, right? In the last 6 months in fintech, which has been chugging along for 7 years really well, blockchain has rewired the business model of the entire industry, right? It's not that you're not aware of it, but from what we see. So the changes that are going to happen over the next 12 months because of blockchain are going to cause the people in the middle of the pack to fall way behind, the people in the head of the pack to become the middle of the pack, and a few companies are going to become the leaders out of nowhere. And if you don't understand drivers in real world blockchain economics are, right, the likelihood of falling behind is very high. We study this better than anybody else. We've helped 100 firms put themselves in position to be leaders in this upcoming change. That's how you start a presentation and get validation, get interest, generate excitement, and clear the way for 10 or 15 minutes of free space. Presentation is to talk about, and not blockchain, of course, right? But to talk about what is changing in the industry they're in, why you're an expert in it, and give a sense that with your help, companies can navigate the dramatic changes that are taking place right now. That will get you rapport with someone very quickly.
Well, yeah, in today's economy, information is definitely power, and it's it's more valuable than anything else. And I guess on keeping with this theme of the fintech startup pitching for capital, I mean, you've raised over $2 billion US for organizations in your time, and you would have seen companies make all sorts of mistakes when presenting. I mean, are there, say, one or two presentation sins that startups should avoid at all costs when pitching for capital?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about some of them, right? Hey guys, really excited to be here. We want to meet with you for a while.
Yep.
So appreciative of the opportunity to, come and present. We got a great presentation. We think you're really going to like us. If you do decide to invest, you're going to find we're the best company in the space, the easiest to work with. So it's the crime or the mistake of supplication, right? You are more important than us. You know more than us. You have something that we need. Neediness, supplication, or diminishing our own value in the face of other people, right, is in essence giving away our power. Okay, so that's mistake number one. And so if you think about it, and this isn't in the book, this is in the new book. When you diminish yourself or supplicate or are needy, right, they start to feel powerful. And when somebody feels powerful, right, there's some physiological reaction. One is their vision narrows. They don't see you in your full scope. Second is they see things at a very cursory level. So they're not curious, right, to look further and explore. So they take it completely at face value. So make one little mistake, or you look like something else that's not good. They're not curious to dig deeper. They just take it completely at face value. So their vision narrows. So you see you through a very, very narrow point of view. They see you at a surface level. They don't appreciate your depth. And the third thing that they do physiologically is they're willing to take more risks than they would with a superior or a peer. And those risks include, surfing for Jeeps on eBay on their laptop, texting on their phone, making rude comments. Well, so why would I care? Why don't you, put it all in a one pager? You wouldn't say that, to your boss, right? Yeah, I mean, this all looks good. Why don't you put in a one pager and send it over to me? Yeah. Right? Why don't you fucking fire yourself? Right? Is what your boss would say.
I think that's a great point. And it's something that shows up not just in business, but in life as well. I mean, as human beings, we tend to want what moves away from us. We want the prize. We want what we can't have. And if you go in there, I mean, you see this show up in relationships where one person is too needy, it turns the other person off. But as soon as that other person stops showing interest, then you start chasing that person. I mean, that's just human nature 101.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in a situation where somebody, said, hey, look, I mean, we're an investment bank. And they said, look, we're talking to Goldman Sachs, as well. I go, great. You talking to Goldman Sachs? You want Goldman? You want your wife to feel good? You want your accountant to be impressed? You want to tell your friends that you have Goldman Sachs? That's great. Go use it. I'll tell you this. At Goldman Sachs, you're a $30 million deal. It will be punishment to work. It'll be punishment for some interns to work on your deal. Who at Goldman Sachs do you think goes, oh, yeah, I'm working on a $30 million deal, right? The managing director, vice presidents, senior directors. Does he think that's what they're talking about? Yeah, I'm working on this $30 million deal in Carlsbad, California. No, the people go, yeah, I just got stuck on this $30 million deal are the interns. But if you want the comfort of that logo, I understand. And you should go do that. But I can tell you, if you want the A team on people who $30 million is a serious deal, have done, this is right in their sweet spot. That's us. But you tell me, I don't know. Only you know what you want, right? Tell me what you want. I'll help you get it.
So, I mean, we've covered a lot of ground in this conversation, Oren, and looking at the different frames one can use when trying to close a deal. I guess in the heat of the moment, though, people can oftentimes get nervous and forget the proper steps they should use, and something may happen. They'll come up against some kind of adversity that they weren't expecting, and then their whole game plan can crumble. So what does one do in those situations when they are nervous and they're forgetting the proper steps? How can they still practice proper frame control?
Yeah, so I think that's right. Well, one thing, I mean, that's what we do. Like, we train people to understand where they are, right, in the process. So I think in the moment, what do? You kind of say, oh man, fuck, right? we're stuck. It's to call it what it is, yeah. Right? And I think I want to answer your question a couple different ways.
Sure.
But one is, I think it's okay to say, hey guys, I'm totally lost, right? This is a script that I would use for somebody who feels that way. I'm totally lost, right? We make SaaS software that makes accounting easier, right? Or we sell these widgets, right? We have them and you don't. They are I'm the number one expert in this industry on accounting software for $20 million SaaS companies. That's all I do. Nobody knows more about this than me. We have it and you don't. And I'm the number one expert in it, right? I know you got a million questions and you want references and we're all sort of wrapped. The fishing line is getting wrapped around the rudder. But at the end of the day, right, I've been doing this for 5 years. Our software is used in all these places. Again, we have it and you don't. It delivers this ROI. In order for you to get it, you have to take money from your account and put it in our account, right? And that's simple. So if you want these benefits, if you want this return on investment, we'll work all this stuff out. If you don't want it, just say, Oren, right? We're asking a million questions because we don't want to be rude, but we think we got some cheaper or better options. We just want, and I'm okay with that, right? Because I have a million people to talk to. So if I can help you, say, please help me. And if I can't help you, just say, hey, Oren, I don't think it's for us. I'm totally okay with that. So if you're stuck, I would just use that script.
Yeah. So basically what you've done there, you've just stated fact. What you know about your business, you know the other business is interested. Hey, we can do this for you. You haven't got it. Let's do a deal. Otherwise, we're going to move on. Because that is something that one can just – it's pretty hard to forget what you do, right? So I think that's a good backup plan.
You move to territory you can defend is how I think about it.
Yep.
Like, listen, right now, you have a problem. I don't have a problem. You have the problem, okay? We fix that problem. If you want me to fix it, you have to give me money. Okay? It's as simple as that. If you don't want me to fix it, I will fuck off, right? You keep your problem, and I will go somewhere else. I don't know what else to do. If I can help you, I will. If I can't, tell me, so this territory you can defend. Now, look, that's my voice. You got to say it in your own voice. You can say it as nicely as possible. You don't want to swear. Sorry about the swearing. I know you run a clean show. But if you think you're going to get to $100 million deal and never heard 3 swear words, you're in the
yeah.
I told you I'd tell a story. So I'm presenting to 2,000 salespeople, right? And I got a great program, and I got a lot of jokes. And all the jokes, jokes today, they generally rely on colorful language. It's to accentuate the punchline, right? I've used these jokes all over the world in Russia and different languages. They kill. So I use some salty language. The jokes go through. If I had more time, I'd tell it to you. But so anyway, I mean, I've given the jokes to 5,000 people at Tony Robbins conferences, and so they're funny. So I tell the joke, and a guy stands up, raises his hand, and I go, "Sir, I can't help it, but I have an hour-long speech that I've given a million times, and people just sit quiet, they take notes, and they love it, they laugh. But for some reason, out of the last 80,000 people that I've trained, you're the only person standing with your hand up. Well, what is going on with you?" Right? And everybody's looking at him. 2,000 people in the audience. He goes, "Oh, the language. My wife had to leave." I go, "Well, what kind of man lets his wife leave and stays himself to complain? Well, please complain." Right? So he complains. And I go, okay, I try and clean up the language. I can't do it, 100%. But the problem is now when I get home, I will not have said the 100 swear words I need to say. And I'm swearing my wife and my baby and everything like that. So that's on your shit, right? That's not on me. That's on you. You're going to go home with that, right? So anyway, I give the rest of the talk, applause, great. Everybody loves it. And then there's a book signing. I go, sign 100 books. And about the third guy in, and he goes, "Hey, my name is Tony," right? I go, "Hey, Tony, fuck you." He goes, fuck you, right? Fun guy. He goes, "Hey, Owen, can you sign my book? Can you sign my book? Fuck you, Tony," right? And so, yeah, no problem. So I signed the book, fuck you, Tony. Next guy in line goes, "Hey, my name is John. Can you sign the book? Fuck you, John." I go, "Oh, yeah, no problem." I signed 110 books. F you, Tom, and Joe. I'm the only business book in the world. It was amazing. So anyway, I tell you a story. But anyway. Like salty language. So what do you do, in the middle of sale if you get off track? I think one thing to recognize is if you think about how a plane lands, right? it goes through a series of waypoints, right? And if you're landing in Santa Monica, which is a complicated, airstrip to land in, if you miss a waypoint, you can't make it up, right? You got to pull off, go back around, and you got to hit the 18 waypoints. There's a landing strip in China. Very hard to get. It's like down in a valley. There's 318 waypoints. You have to hit every single one. You can't miss one and make a few up. So what are the waypoints that you have to hit along the way to making the sale? And if you miss one, you don't just plow ahead, right, and try and make up. You got to pull back around and hit that waypoint so you can go through all the steps needed to make the sale. So I know for most businesses what those waypoints are. And that's what we train people.
Fantastic. Well, we will share the show notes to some of your training resources, some of the links to some of the training resources in the show notes for our listeners. But before we wrap up, you've left our audience with a hell of a lot of value bombs on the topic of persuasion, on the topic of sales and negotiation. I would love to just ask you one question on how you stay on top of your game, Oren. You've been in this space for a long time. You've raised over $2 billion in capital. You've got books on the way. You've got your second book coming out. You speak all over the world. What sort of rituals or routines do you have to help you staying fit and just crushing it the way you do?
Oh, man. So that's a great question. This is what I tell people. You might be better looking than me. You might be stronger than me. Might be more fit. The girls might like you more. You might be more well-spoken, but you will not outwork me. So I think definitely not the smartest, but I put in the reps, right? So maybe I think about it like this. When the world collapsed in 2008, I was in finance, and there was you couldn't get any debt, couldn't structure any deals. So I didn't have any work. I had to make money. And so I just focused on the one tiny piece of my business that I could be the best in the world at, which is creating pitches. I just had an affinity for it. People liked the way I did them, and I just focused on that. So just continue to narrow until there's some area you can defend. Focus on that and become the best in the world in that and outwork everybody. I know it sounds like a fortune cookie, right? But the reality is that, having done that, and don't get focused by guy at Dropbox and, he skyrocketed in 3 years, he's $500 million. Listen, you got all these venture firms with all the money in the world. They cannot recreate that. They got the smartest people. They're all from Stanford and Harvard and Yale, right? They can't recreate Dropbox. It is anomalies, these huge wins. Stick to your knitting, do something better than anybody else, triple down, and just outwork everybody. And so, this is like, Tim Ferriss and these guys, they have this sort of renegade mentality, right? I have a totally different mentality where, you live out in the woods and you're a guerrilla, and you come into the city at night where all the unhappy people live, you take their money or you do something better, then you go back out, in guerrilla warfare, and you get yours that way. I view it totally differently. I view it like a basketball game. You can't just grab the ball and run with it, right? A cricket game, you don't just take the ball, hit some guy with the stick and kick the wickets over. There's rules. And so in sales, marketing, finance, there's rules. So it's understanding the rules and working harder and playing better than the other team. That's what will get you yours. That's how I think about it.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. And it aligns with so much of what I've read over the years, dating back to guys like even Napoleon Hill, or dating back to Calvin Coolidge, former US president, who said that nothing in this world will take the place of persistence. Talent will not. The world is full of talented people who never reached the pinnacle of success because they just weren't persistent and always shied away at the first hint of adversity, the first hint of having their ego challenged. But if you can push forward, push past that, if you can just double down, triple down, like you say, then you're much more likely to end out on top.
Totally. I just listened to an Audible book, The Lions of Kandahar. Go get that. Just if you want to think about perseverance, adversity for no good reason other than commitment, that was a good book that emphasized it to me.
Beautiful. I'll add that to the show notes for our listeners. Well, thank you so much for your time, Oren. You've left us with a wealth of knowledge. Do you have any parting words of wisdom for the listeners of Future Squared?
Yeah, just don't take any shit from buyers. I mean, you have the integrity. You have the product. You're the expert. All they have is money, and money is a commodity. You can get it anywhere.
Love it. Thank you so much, Oren. Hope you have a smashing rest of your day. Hi guys, Steve again. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to receive a weekly email from me, complete with reflections, books I've been reading, words of wisdom, and access to blogs, ebooks, and more that I'm publishing on a regular basis, just leave your details at futuresquared.xyz/subscribe and you'll receive the very next one. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, please take a minute to like, share, or subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, or Spotify. It goes a long way to giving the podcast the exposure it needs so I can continue bringing you guests and conversations of the highest caliber. Until next time, Future Squared is out.